Hello and welcome to the Downshift, hosted by Schwags, Lockie, Huppy, and myself, KT. In this episode, we review the United States Grand Prix. We will unpack the Turn 1 demolition derby in the sprint race, try to pull out of the main race some of the highlights from what seemed to be a rather pedestrian race, and look at what this means for the remaining 5 races. All this and a look at the Downshift battle for bragging rights at the end of the season.
So it's lights out.
Drop the clutch.
And let's get racing.
Hello and welcome to the Downshift, where we are doing the review of the 2025 United States Grand Prix, which was held at the Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas. Smack bang at the business end of the season for what Sky like to put up as a sold-out attendance, so we don't know how many people turned up to the race.
They were solid numbers, solid numbers.
But this is where strategy is now becoming so important as we get to the end of the season. And we've seen some of the arrogance of McLaren, who has now won the Constructors' Championship, but leaving the door open on the Drivers' Championship. So, but before getting into the main race, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but let's discuss the sprint race.
I love a sprint race.
I laugh as we all were debating in the last episode how sprint races are just not even worth having. Stefano Domenicalo would have been patting himself on the back.
The only thing it had going for it was that there was more action in the sprint race than there was in the main race.
Yes, so look, it set a dramatic tone for the weekend. We saw a commanding victory from pole by Max Verstappen, but the real talking point was the multi-car bingle at Turn 1, where we saw Nico Hülkenberg take a knock into Oscar Piastri, who then also took out his teammate Lando Norris.
You mean?
Do you say Nico knocked into Oscar? Anyway, we'll get to that.
You mean
part.
Oscar's bowling alley?
Yeah. I'm not sure which replay you've seen, Christian, but the turn that I saw might have showed it in a different sort of light then, because it did not look like that Oscar was going to do anything else but take out several cars from the way he turned into that corner.
I was just going off Zach Brown's review of the race, saying that it was amateur hour.
Oh, I think he was referring to Oscar.
Interesting call.
Yeah.
Of all the Formula One racetracks in the season, for Turn 1 at the start of a race, that is the one track that you do not do an aggressive cutback to do an over-under or someone, because there was like 6 cars jamming their nose into Turn 1 at Circuit of the Americas. It happens every year. I put most of the blame on Oscar. That was just probably not a smart thing to try and do.
It's a big, wide track up the hill there, isn't it? Like there's lots and lots of room running up the hill.
And there's incidents, cars bumping into each other all the time, and space is tight. So why would you? I know that he thought that move was probably on. Later in the race, it would have been on 100%, but not at Turn 1.
And to be fair, I mean, you look at that and go, you've got 4 people who are Piastri fans here, and we've all decided that, I'm sorry, but that's just not on. So...
Yeah, I mean, you could put it down as a racing incident, but it was still, I think it was a poor decision by Oscar to try that move then.
Isn't he a New Zealander?
Dan's about to claim Punchy as one of our own.
I mean, we're very fluid with Lawson, aren't we? He's either Aussie or he's a New Zealander. We can go back the other way, can't we?
No.
What was even worse about this was that for McLaren as a team, it was a disaster because they got 0 race laps under the belt, and then they had to go into qualifying and race not knowing how the car would perform over any sort of distance. So pretty much everyone else on the track, apart from who else got knocked out? I think it was Hülkenberg got knocked out.
Hülkenberg, Alonso.
Got to run.
He just repitted and came back out again, didn't he?
Yeah. I mean, but they got experience.
No. Alonso was out, and then Stroll was also out.
Yeah, but Hülkenberg just put a new nose cone on and kept going, didn't he?
Yeah, Hülkenberg stayed in. So Hülkenberg finished off in 13th position. So
yeah. And look, Max had the pace to win, but had the rear end of his car wasn't great during the race. So there's some intelligence for Red Bull going into the next day for quali and the main race. So they could sort their problems out. They knew they'd have a good car, and McLaren were just left guessing. They're really on the back foot because of that. So it was a real disaster for McLaren.
And as you were saying, Happy, the teams do use, because you only get one practice round, they do use the sprint to get a feel for the cars. And for our resident weather guru, we had big changes in regards to wind direction. And, it was about 3 miles per minute per second, whatever, in regards to the wind blowing across.
Whatever.
It was
Whatever.
blustery
No
and
difference.
gustery, Christian. Blustery and gustery was what it was. Yeah.
Blustery and gustery.
Gustery.
Yeah. Just look them up. Official words. It's all good.
Another coined word. That's right, Dad.
Just put a re in behind any word and you've got a new word. Lachlan word.
For our viewers, I'm just popping up here, and this has confused the Downshift team as well, so I do apologise, but I have put a chart up here which shows from the grid on the left-hand side the position where each of the drivers started at, but ultimately how many positions they gained after the debacle at turn one, putting in the finishing order. But you can see there, the real winner out of this was Yuki Tsunoda, who claimed 11 positions after the crash, moving from 18th up to 7th, which he held for the rest of the race.
And Leclerc did a good job to get through it all too.
Just weaved his way through, didn't he?
There was a reel where it likened him to Lightning McQueen in one of the Cars movies, where he's just gone through all of the carnage and come out unscathed.
Just held it flat for the best.
Yeah, close your eyes, off you go.
Just close your eyes.
What could go wrong?
I mean, at
We
least,
needed him to channel Ollie Behrman and go, ciao, ciao, ciao.
at least the accident at turn one was, well, for starters, it was a safety car, the first of 2 safety cars, I think, for that race, and jumbled the field up a fair bit. But yeah, the Ferraris did quite well out of it.
Wasn't most of that race was under safety car, or a third of the race was under safety cars, wasn't it?
Yeah. 36% was under safety cars, 7 out of the 19 laps. Yeah. So I still attest to the fact that when you look at the sprint round, 19 laps, so 100 kilometres, over a third of it was under safety car. It's really costly for the teams. I mean, from this perspective, is you're seeing how much damage was sustained there for a maximum of 8 points, and also the pressure that you put onto the entire team to get the cars ready, and only a few hours after that for qualifying.
Because there's more next year.
Yeah, more next year. But Max has got another full bag of points from that race. McLaren's 0, so he's clawed back more of the deficit to a potential world title.
I think if we go back a few weeks, Christian was doing graphs and charts, and I don't know what.
No, don't say
there
that.
was one of the things was
if Max won
Verstappen
every
win
round
and a McLaren double DNF,
ticking them off.
You all laughed.
Wasn't in a main race, but still.
Ticking them off so far.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves, because I know that all of our viewers tune in specifically for my graphs. So we'll save that till a little bit further on in the episode.
That's coming. My bad.
Yeah. Thanks, Dan.
But with that, we may as well jump into qualifying for the highlights. And look, this showcased the raw pace of the top teams. We saw that Verstappen secured both pole for the sprint race and the main race. And so we're seeing the result of Red Bull's upgrades, which Laurent Mekies had shared with us, that only up until a couple of weeks ago, they were still developing the car and actually putting some upgrades on that. So we saw Verstappen take out pole with a lap time of, and look, I mean, McLaren, where was their pace?
They struggled. Yeah, I mean, and obviously the lack of running in the sprint race didn't help, but Norris was strong here last year, and even with a good qualifying performance, he was still 0.3 behind Verstappen. So Max is driving super well, especially in that qualifying, and that car is pretty hooked up at the moment. So yeah, but obviously seeing the qualifying, I think we're all concerned that how McLaren would do in the actual race.
And so as we got into the main race, it was not in question from the start. Max controlled the race from lights out to checkered flag. We did see Norris take a late charge to overtake Charles for second. And as we're saying, with minimal safety cars, it really allowed for clean, uneventful racing.
Was it 2 or 1 virtual safety car? And that, doesn't really bunch anyone up much. I think Albon took a pit stop under it. That was about it. We weren't expecting any real rain or other variables like that.
Well, we already knew that from the expert weather predictions that came through previously.
Thank you, Lachlan.
But so based on that, Christian, your clean and uneventful racing is basically watching the cars do a procession around the track, which doesn't exactly leave the fans excited beyond belief when they have to sit there and watch that. So they actually need to figure out a way to take the parity off the cars or something like that in order to get some overtaking, some action. Because
I've got an idea. Brand new regulations next year. That'll fix it.
That should fix it, but we got to get through 5 more races at this point in time to get to that point. So
I'll tell you.
So what are we going to do now, Lockie?
When there was rain forecast last week, I was so happy because I thought, great, this is going to throw some variables into it. And then our resident weather forecaster told us that rain was unlikely in Circuit of the Americas.
Well, if you thought you were disappointed for this race, you wait till the next race how disappointed you'll be then as well.
Yeah.
But look, I still stand by my thing of, every, say, 5th or 6th lap, just throw a couple of buckets of water on the track. See if you can liven the cars up a little bit and see what happens from there.
Yeah, it's a bit of a procession. And, we've seen this year there's been, I don't know, less than average overtakes, it seems, at many rounds. So not much really happened during that race.
The good news with these races now is that you can go off and get breakfast or a coffee and miss 10 laps and nothing's going to change.
Don't feel like you're missing too much. Yeah,
no.
That's a dumb thing. Motorsport should be edgy of seat excitement. You should be sitting there watching it, and it should be full of action. The cars should be next to each other, overtaking, doing whatever. But yeah, hopefully it changes next year. I'm looking forward to 2026 to see what that brings.
I agree.
So with the result with Max finishing in first position, we had him followed by Lando, Charles, Lewis, Oscar, George, Yuki, Nico, and then Ollie and Fernando. But what this actually sets us up for is that battle for second. So with a great day for Ferrari with Charles in P3 and Lewis in P4, that was 36 points to Ferrari as opposed to Mercedes 16. So that puts them only 7 points behind Mercedes. And for me, I was really taken aback with it. I didn't even think about this until I was putting it into the spreadsheet, but Red Bull are now only 3 points behind Ferrari. So there's 10 points in the race for second.
It's a close fight.
You mean Max Verstappen is 3 points behind Ferrari?
Hey, you can get points on the weekend. Don't disparage it that much. He got points on the weekend. Come on.
Yeah, Yuki brought in a whole 6 points. So
that's right. Yeah.
Yes.
It's not all Max. It takes 6 off as well.
Yuki gets a mention occasionally, but not much.
And I don't know if the time's right, but they were saying that Max has scored 119 of a possible 133 points in the last 5 Grand Prix weekends.
Yep, he's been on fire.
So he's doing all right then.
So he's getting a fair haul.
We're certainly charging towards the end of this season. There's only 5 rounds to go, and we can talk about championship points in a second, but it could get interesting.
No, it's over. Yeah, let's do it. But
Dan's called it. That's it. Put it in the book. It's done.
So hang on. Who have you called it for?
Max has got it.
Okay. That's right. I'm just checking.
Just want to clarify then.
McLaren's going to go on, well, not McLaren, but Oscar and Lando are going to go cry in the corner and Max is just going to.
Yeah, but I want to know who can I go and put a sports bet on for second or third then, Dan? Like, what do we got here?
Well, geez, at this rate, you'd be nearly putting George for second, wouldn't you?
He's got a long road to go.
5 races and George is going to come screaming up the top.
Well,
statistically, George can still make it.
And I haven't put George into this. I haven't put George into the chart yet.
Please don't. Please don't.
No.
Well, look, if we get into the championship implications here, I mean, look, McLaren are, as we've said, Zach is smiling like a Cheshire cat because McLaren have sealed the Constructors' Championship. That was done and dusted back in Singapore. But we have the focus, which is now shifted squarely to the driver's title. And we entered the race with talk of repercussions for the hit that Norris had on Piastri in Singapore. So we may as well start there in regards to everyone's thoughts on these repercussions.
Wow. They're pretty serious repercussions when you heard what they actually were.
The rumours.
Yes.
Oh, you mean the chance to come out of the pit and choose whether you come out first or second in qualifying?
How did that work for Oscar on the weekend?
Which probably is an advantage. But if that rumour, the interesting thing about this is that if that rumour is true, it means that after these discussions the team had after last round, basically a decision was made that McLaren didn't act fairly for the drivers and for Oscar, and that Lando has somewhat been punished for this. He's got to carry some sort of burden of giving up something to Oscar for the rest of the season, which I think is interesting. And Sky were interviewing Zach, and they said to him, "What's are the drivers free to race? What's going on? He said, yep, there is zero impact from us. We're not going to do anything, but we want the drivers to race fairly and blah, blah, blah. So I thought that was entirely hypocritical because it's certainly not 0% influence on the drivers when they swap positions and have done that throughout the season. But, Zach, jumps up and down saying that it's all fair and racing's on, but repercussions, I don't know.
Exactly as you're saying, repercussions say straight away, it's not fair. So, the fact that they've had to rebalance it and look, Schwags and I were talking about this as we were watching the race this morning and we've talked about the fact that the drivers are there racing. And we've seen this where, the engineer comes on the radio and says to the driver, oh, what would you like to do? I'm sorry, I'm traveling at 300 kilometers an hour. I've got someone up my backside. I'm trying to hold a corner. You've got all the data there. You've got the expertise. You tell me what I'm going to do. And so now Oscar's going to make calls from the cockpit? No.
So he now needs to know his own track position and his own race implications and also know the implications for Lando and Lando's track position relative to his own and work out whether what's the best, what's going to serve him best, ideally.
And it's not get out his pen and paper.
Yeah.
Well, this all hinges too on whether or not they actually don't then screw the pit stop up as well and, do a 3.5, 3.9, 4-second pit stop as opposed to the 2 seconds that they can do. So,
but
that would make it unfair.
But if they do, they just got to have clear rules about it. Like if there's a slower than 2.5 second pit stop and the positions change, we'll swap you back. Like there's got to be something clear. Otherwise, you're just going to have these murky situations all the time and someone's going to feel like they got screwed over. So, yeah, I don't know.
Can I ask a question of someone who may have been paying more attention? This alleged, Oscar gets to choose the pit stops, who's first or second or whatever. How many races this season would that have actually had any impact?
Previously?
I'm thinking this season, how many races would that have actually had an impact on Oscar's outcome? I'm thinking maybe 2 or 3. And it wouldn't have been first to second or second to first. It would have just been second to third. I mean, it's still obviously still points, but
it's hard to tell. But like normally what a team would do is in qualifying, they would alternate who goes out first and who goes out second. And that can make a difference on tracks where if you're behind your teammate, you can get a bit of a tow, so you can improve your lap time. So Monza, Red Bull Ring, places like that, where a distant tow can really help. So if Oscar has the choice of, no, I want to go out second or I want to go out first, there could be a small advantage. It's not a big advantage. It's probably not going to mean a lot, but it's something. Like normally you wouldn't get to choose. The team would rotate that 50-50.
Or whoever's leading.
Yeah, impossible to tell.
And you run the risk of having a off-track limits and missing out altogether if you run out of time.
Or not getting out in time and missing the thing completely.
But it was only a room, and it was Canal Plus, and they just said, we can confirm that at McLaren from now on, to balance out what Oscar faced in Singapore, Oscar will be able to choose his order of exiting the garage in qualifying ahead of Lando or not for the rest of the season. So that was it. Not going to make much of a difference. And like
allegedly, no difference.
I'm sure they've been told do not crash into each other. Like I'm guessing they've got another rule now in McLaren. If you hit the other driver and you get ahead of them, then you're going to have to swap back or something like that. But yeah,
pretty sure that would be the standard rule for the whole season, though, wouldn't it? Don't crash into each other.
Well, yeah, but you've seen teams like Mercedes. So when Lewis and Rosberg were battling, they hit each other. Webber, Vettel, like. There was close, hard racing. But the thing is, the drivers know if I have an accident here, the risk is that I take myself out as well, not just the other driver. Like the drivers don't want to hit each other and have an accident. It is really dangerous in a Formula One car to touch anything. So to have these little rules about that is slightly odd. But I don't know. Yeah, if it gets to a point where if Lando knows that he takes Oscar out, Lando's going to win the championship. Or vice versa, would one of them take each other out? Senna and Prost. I don't know. Like, yeah.
But look, Flavio's not in charge of that team.
See, I was thinking it, but I didn't say it.
Well, allegedly.
Allegedly.
He only
the
got
lawyer
banned
said to
from
say
Formula
allegedly at
One.
the start.
So yeah,
that's
exactly right. So, but look, we know two papaya rules, and Zach has been very clear, and so has Andrea has said. The number one rule is you do not hit your teammate. And so that's why we've seen the repercussions from Singapore, because they've said to Oscar's point, I got hit by Lando. Now, we know that Lando came off Max, but he'd still hit his teammates, so there's the repercussions. The other rule, which was over the radio, where we talked about the slow pit stop at Monza, was that Oscar had said, I thought we'd agreed that slow pit stops was just part of racing. So they're two rules that have been very clearly expressed by the drivers or the team. Talk about Papaya.
What's the difference between Lando hitting Oscar this last weekend and Oscar hitting Lando this weekend?
It's a good question, Schwags. I mean,
Lando ran into the back of Max in an incident, not ran back, but touched him,
tap Max, yep.
Pushed him out. It was a small incident. Oscar was lucky he didn't go in the wall. This weekend, Oscar turned in on Hulkenberg.
The difference is they didn't have to give back positions because they were both taken out of the race.
Yeah, but to your point, does that mean that Oscar has to give up a position for Lando at
is
the
Oscar
next
going to
race?
get a slap on?
No.
Yeah, was Oscar going to get a slap on the wrist or a little bit of a dressing down afterwards?
No, I don't think so.
No, it was
not
a
for
crash.
that incident. It was a different incident, but what the main concern for McLaren now is that they've struggled with Circuit of the Americas and this points deficit, where Oscar was 22 odd points ahead of Lando, is now only 14 points ahead of Lando, and the difference between Verstappen and the lead was, what was it, Christian? 63 points?
Yep,
and now we're back to 40, which is less than 2 race wins with 5 rounds to go. So, another DNF or so from each of those McLaren guys, and it is well and truly on because that Red Bull is looking really good at the moment.
Well, this sounds like the perfect opportunity for us to put a graph up on the screen. And if we look at the results of Circuit of the Americas, you'll see here, and I'll pop that up here, is that we've actually got Max, who's had a nice little uptick with that upward trajectory going right towards the two Papayas. And so, to your point, is the gap is now only 40 points to Oscar. If we take, again, the historical performance...
Are we extrapolating again?
We are extrapolating.
Okay, just checking.
Yep. It's not exponential. It's not polynomial.
It's an estimate. It's statistics.
Yeah.
60% of the time, they're right every time.
It's the vibe. It's Marbo.
And 42% of statistics are made up. So, yeah.
We can tell at least that the gap is narrowing and that with 5 rounds to go, this could be bloody interesting when it comes to the championship.
Well, if I take the results as they stand today and I take the statistical historical results based on Verstappen's performance, Norris's performance, and Piastri's performance, obviously Max has been racing longer, we could actually see, and as you'll see here, Max taking out the championship by 7 points over Piastri.
Yeah, it's a done deal.
Good. But, look at the gap. Look at the gap 10 rounds ago. It was a huge gap, or 6 rounds ago, not that long ago. It's really narrowed a lot. And from what you guys saw over the weekend, just the last, 4 races have shown that McLaren does not have anywhere near the advantage they had at the start of the season, and that Red Bull looks like, at the moment, the car to beat for the last 5 rounds.
Yep. McLaren's struggling. They had their tyre advantage early, or the way they could maintain their tyres, but that wasn't an issue this weekend. There was no tyre deck that was holding teams up.
Better downforce, better tyre life, decent efficiency, and the other teams have caught up with them. So,
And look, Max was very clear when they'd asked about the car, as he said, it no longer understeers, it no longer oversteers. So basically, it just steers. So it goes where he points it. It sticks to the tracks. It does what you want a Formula One car to do.
That's a great technical explanation, Christian.
How about
just for our listeners who love our technical details, it just steers.
What about his gearbox he was complaining about a few rounds ago? Obviously, have they put the 2000 model back in that one now?
They've updated it since then.
Sawdust in it.
So, yep.
It's running smooth now.
5 speeds instead of 4. Yeah.
But Christian, you and I said this morning too, like McLaren, there will be no more development on that car this year.
No.
Would be fairly confident of that. So they're stuck with that package for the next 5 races.
I don't think there'll be much from anyone for the rest of the next 5 rounds.
Well, I think we discussed like developments months in the planning. So they've obviously gotten a point where they go, you know what, we're going to take our constructors, and we now need to focus on 26, which a lot of teams are. But they're at a point when they're not going to necessarily win the races.
there'll be more effort for the 3 or 4 top teams who, yes, still have a chance to gain a position in the constructors' title, or for Max and the McLaren boys who are fighting for the individual championship. But for most of the field, yeah, you're right. They'll be focusing on next year.
Yeah, for McLaren, it's done. They've got the top cash prize, so they don't need to do anything more than that. For Ferrari, Mercedes, and Red Bull, there's dollars and cents in this, and so they can do that. But to your point, Schwags, is that the developments take weeks, if not months, and we've only got 5 weeks left of racing. So there's not a lot that you can do in regards to major developments. It's not a case of Sonny Hayes just swinging into the wind tunnel and say, "Hey, can you build this for combat?" It's a bit more.
McLaren's won 50
Technical,
mils
right?
in the bank, and now it's a case of the other three probably maybe thinking they can put a bit of development in to get whatever second prize is or whatever money they get out of that. They can probably justify going, let's put a bit into it. But yeah, I think McLaren are done with their car.
You said before, Red Bull's actually already done that, and the upgrades that they've bought have obviously stabilised that car and made it more slippery through the air and everything. So whatever upgrades they've put on that car should see them through for the next 4 or 5 races. And they've just proved now that car's back on the track the way it should be. It's dominant again.
Which leads us on to predictions.
I was wondering when you were going to move us on to that, Huppy.
I can't see that. I can't see that in the document.
Put the graph up. Put the graph up.
Okay, so
The world is right again. Everything's back.
Jeez.
So, look, we have Max Verstappen to thank for this, who has
Bloody Max.
rocketed Huppy to 41 points, taking a 3-point lead over myself, and with Lockie sitting at 36 points and Schwags at 17. So with a pole and a win for Huppy, that gave him an additional 4 points. Lockie, you took 2 with Lando coming in at second. So, yep, well saved.
I'm just more disappointed that he got bloody Max twice. That's more disappointing for me.
And for me, Chuckles gave me a point. So, so it's brought us to the point where Huppy, you're nicely in the lead there. And so the pressure is on as we prepare for our next episode with the Mexican Grand Prix, which we'll get to.
So what did I get?
0.
In fact, you got the hat trick, Dan. You've had 0 for the last 3 rounds.
Yeah, in your face.
It's the hat trick everyone dreams of, Dan.
The magic hat's not going so well.
If I was a bowler, you'd be pleased right now.
Consistent, Dan.
That's for sure.
If you bowled 3 maidens in a row, Dan, we'd be pretty happy with that. Yeah,
I know, right?
Yeah. So Huppy, you can now grin like a Cheshire cat with Zach. As you sit there quite happily with your papaya
for
hat
1
on.
week at least. That's it.
Well,
we'll see how we go.
Who knows for next week? So we can have that. We'll have that discussion in our next episode. So look, for our listeners, thank you for listening. Please like and subscribe so you never miss an episode. Coming up later in the week, so we'll have a second episode dropping on Thursday as our preview of the Mexican Grand Prix,
where I'll be looking to extend my lead in the downshift predictions.
And I'll obviously provide some accurate weather forecasts and what to expect across the border.
And I'll no doubt be providing an accurate, exciting prediction pulled from a hat.
So, well, thank you again. We'll be back on Thursday to have an action-packed preview of the Mexican Grand Prix. Until then, we'll see you on the next lap.